I really wasn't going to go live, to be honest with you guys. But I was up. It was Christmas. Sitting in the house by myself. Uh, Roomie went out to be with her family, her kids, and whatnot. And I was watching a YouTube video of a tarot reader. She goes by Love Untangled by a Mermaid Prophetess, right? And as I'm sitting here watching the video, she starts to go into the topic of narcissism. And I was sitting here thinking to myself, oh, great, everybody's a narcissist now. Your ex, they're a narcissist. Your boss, they're a narcissist. Your parent, your coworker, the person who didn't text you back fast enough, the bar back who didn't smile at you when you ordered your drink, they're all certified narcissists now. And it's crazy, yo. Like, it really is, because we got to slow this down and just pause for a second. Because narcissism isn't this whole thing where you're in a bad relationship and you're catching a Pokemon or something. It's not a Pokemon. It's not. It's not a Pokemon that you catch when you're in a bad relationship. It's literally a spectrum. Similar to autism. Autism has spectrums. So does narcissism. Narcissism has spectrums. And the thing about it is, every human has it. Every single human has it. From the person up the block to your next door neighbor, the person watching this video that lives across country, but they're saying, yeah, not me. Shit, hey, I've even been, I have traits of narcissism. I'm not going to sit here in front about it. But I get it. It's because we all care about how we're perceived. We all care to protect our ego. We all care to justify our behavior. And the funny thing about it is, we all want control over our narrative, over our story. And that's not pathology. That's not being a clinical narcissist. That's called being human. So congratulations. That's the basis of psychology. What I honestly believe that what most people actually mean when they say narcissist is really just lazy language. I'm not talking about them meaning the whole clinical narcissism like I was saying before. When I say lazy language, I mean they mean selfish. They mean emotionally immature. They mean manipulative. They mean avoidant. They mean somebody casting illusions. They mean someone who's not able to hold themselves accountable. They mean that this person hurt me and I need another word that sounds intelligent enough to carry out my pain because this person is now trash to me. And this is why the context behind all of this matters. Because behavior without context is really just noise. It's someone can be so self-focused because they're insecure. They can become controlling because they grew up in chaos. They grew up in a hectic-ass environment. They end up becoming emotionally distant because vulnerability was never safe for them. And even us as men, we're told to not be vulnerable. But fellas, before I even go any further, fellas, if you are with your woman and you're not able to be vulnerable with your woman, that's not your woman at all. It's not your woman. So just leave it at that. But let me continue on with this, because none of this excuses the harm that people cause, because it explains it. And explanation is how adults stop repeating the same relationship with different faces. And the most uncomfortable truth that most people skip behind this, because this is something that I did myself, if everyone you meet ends up being a narcissist, the issue probably isn't the psychology behind it. It's the pattern recognition. It's the proximity. In other words, when I say proximity, it's the people that you allow close to you and you not recognizing their patterns that they have. You do it once, okay, you can say it was a mistake. They do it twice, you was like, okay, hey, that's the second time you did that, don't do it. Do it a third time, you're starting to notice a pattern. And sometimes the problem isn't that you're surrounded by narcissists at all. It's that you don't know yourself well enough yet. You don't know your boundaries. You don't know your triggers. You don't know the dynamics that feel familiar because they were learned early and not chosen consciously. And I know it sounds fucked up. I know it does. But you can't choose well if you don't know how, or you don't know who you are when you're lonely, when you're anxious, or when you're chasing validation. You will never know who you are if you're doing all of that. And there's more topics about it too. Let me say this first. I should have said this in the beginning. I'm not a therapist. I'm not a licensed doctor. I'm not a psychiatrist or anything like that. I'm just someone who has enough lived experience to talk about this. And the thing about it is you can't choose well if you don't know who you are. And calling everyone a narcissist doesn't mean you're healed. It just means you learned a buzzword you never heard before. This is a conversation I was having with someone. I don't really want to say her name because she was through a bad relationship, and she had just heard of this word narcissist and she started using it like crazy. And I was like, everybody's a narcissist. The same conversation I'm having right now, I was breaking down with her. I was literally having the conversation where we were listening to Carl Jung and listening to the actual diagnoses of narcissism. There being grandiose narcissists, there being covert narcissists, excuse me. There being malignant narcissists, and then you just have your regular everyday narcissists. But here's the thing, I'm going to take this back to Stoic principles at that. You cannot control people. It's impossible to control somebody unless you got them in jail. And shit, if you ever been in jail or you know somebody that's in jail or you've worked for a jail, you know the people in jail, you can't control them either. But you can control access. That goes back to the whole proximity issue I was speaking on earlier. You control who you let in your circle. You control who you let around you. Now, most so-called narcissists lose power the moment boundaries show up. And I found it funny because when I went through this, when I started putting up boundaries, bruh, that person went insane, bro. They went crazy. When I stopped listening to, leave me alone. No, I know this sounds a little bit crazy. But when they would start to say, leave me alone, I don't want to deal with you, I noticed that they were really only saying and doing all this stuff because they wanted to impress this new source of, what's the word I'm looking for? Energy. This new source of validation. That's all they were trying to do, was to impress the next person. And when I noticed that this one individual person, they survived on emotional fog. They survived on mixed signals. And people who explain instead of enforce. That was one of the places I slipped up at. But here's where all of it collapsed. I started adding clarity into everything I was doing. And when I added clarity, that collapsed all the dysfunctional dynamics at the drop of a dime. So let me just keep it real. All right? Some people just aren't narcissists at all. They're not. They're just not compatible. This goes back, they're emotionally undeveloped or emotionally immature, like I was saying earlier. Or they're operating from survival instead of intention, is what they're really doing. So when I hear people start using the word narcissist, or they overuse the word narcissist, I begin to realize that they begin to flatten out reality. You people tend to turn this complex human behavior and make them into a cartoon villain. Like I'm seeing memes on my feed, like all types of shit, yo. And at first it might feel validating, but you don't grow from it. It blocks your growth. Because the language that we use as people, as human beings, it shapes perception. That perception, that shapes the decisions. And those decisions shape the outcome. So before you want to sit here and start labeling or diagnosing someone from a card pull, a clip, or a caption, know yourself first. Know your patterns, know your wounds, know your limits. Not everyone who disappointed you is disordered or discombobulated or confused or neurotic in some sort of way. And not everyone who chose themselves is evil. And I'm going to be honest with you, people that ended up hurting you, they didn't do it on purpose. Not everyone who hurt you did it on purpose. If I ever hurt someone, I never did it on purpose. If I ever did hurt someone, I probably planned it out because they needed to learn a lesson because they were going too far. And even since I'm talking about lessons, sometimes the lesson isn't they were a narcissist. Sometimes the lesson is I didn't know myself yet. And that's the work. That's literally the power. You know, and when you have that power, you take all that pain, you turn that into that power. From there, you can turn that pain, that power, into purpose. So that's going to be my little live rant for the night because I'm like I said, I'm only going live after watching a tarot reader casually label someone a narcissist, and for me, it just clicked tonight. The word being thrown around with no context, no precision, and a whole lot of unhealed emotion. But I think we're all unhealed in some way, shape, or form, so it's a constant process of improving ourselves. So again, let me recap this because I want y'all to realize that narcissism exists on a spectrum, and every human that you see walking this earth has some of it, and that includes you. That means it's similar to the Michael Jackson song. You need to talk to that person in the mirror and change your ways or figure out why you are that way. You know, I had to do it myself. I got tired of playing the mirror games and I just faced the truth and said, fuck it, I am who I am. I'm me. I can't be nobody else but me. It's up to you to whether or not do you get the good version of me, the bad version of me, or the version that's going to be an absolute dickhead and screw your whole entire life over. So hopefully this breakdown of why overusing the word narcissism, you know, it blocks your growth. You know how lazy psychology language keeps people stuck. You know, I hope that this breakdown in this live, it really helps you out because knowing yourself, knowing your boundaries, knowing your patterns matters more than being labeled a villain, yo. Whether you're a man or a woman watching this right now, it's about context and it's about accountability. So with that being said, I guess that's going to be the end of this video. Yeah, it's going to be the end of this video. It's actually Christmas. It's 1:31 in the morning. It's actually Christmas. Happy holidays to those who are out there celebrating Christmas. Yeah, that's going to be the end of this. I'm not going to lie. I really didn't like talking about this, but I really had no choice. I got so tired and so brain boggled and my mind beat in from people using the word narcissist and not even really knowing what the real story was behind all of it. Not my personal story. For those who know my personal story, you've probably seen some of my videos and heard those are all true stories. Everything I post in my videos, these are all true stories that I've been telling. People hate me for it. I don't care how anybody feels about it. This is my story. You have your story. Go tell it how you want to. I have my story. I have my testimony. I'm going to tell it how I want to. But deuces, y'all. This your man Shelby. I'm out. Y'all have a great evening. It's 1:32. It's 1:32 in the morning. I'm about to go to sleep. Y'all enjoy y'all Christmas, your Kwanzaa, your Hanukkah, Shalom, all that stuff. I don't even know if I'm in the right holiday season to be saying Shalom, but enjoy your holidays, y'all. Enjoy it.